All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Pirates series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that go up at that are recorded live after every single series during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening or on playback and you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff regarding this team. You feel like you're being ignored? You're not being ignored. We're just going to be starring you throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post-Game. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 148 of our show. And oh boy, it is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's getting bad out here. It really is getting bad out here. The Mets just came off of a series in Pittsburgh where it's an understatement to say that they didn't even show up. A complete embarrassment, a disgrace of a performance that we just saw. I don't think any overreactions or any source of anger is thought of as too much as of right now, because this is so bad. This is such an awful position that they have been put in as of right now. And whether they are a game and a half out of this division or not, they are playing some of the worst displays of baseball we have seen these past 2 weeks. And Frank, I think that you can agree. I mean, we are at an all-time low right here. And I don't even want to ask the question, can it get worse? Because unfortunately, I think I know the answer to that question as of right now, considering the condition that they are in.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. I have a lot of thoughts. You say, if you guys have like questions, comments, concerns, yeah, I have all the above. I have questions, I have comments, and I definitely have some concerns with the way they're playing. And to be honest, they would have been better off not showing up. I mean, they played so bad that it would have been better for all of us if they didn't even go. You forfeited the games, and then we didn't have to sit and watch like 9 hours of just getting destroyed by a terrible team. That would have been better instead of sit there and being tortured watching the display that we saw this weekend. I mean, and everyone wants to say, "Oh, well, the pitching's injured." Excuse me, do these injured pitchers hit? Because what does that have to do with not scoring more than 3 runs? Like, does the pitching suck right now because injuries? Yes, but they're also bad at hitting. So it's like that still doesn't solve the issue. It's a matter of, in order to win baseball games, you have to be good at both things. And they're not good at either one, which is why they're losing a majority of their games. And even when they did have the very good record, we talked about there's different ways to get that record. Like, not all whatever record you want to give me, 35 and 20 teams are all built the same. Like, you could do it in a really good fashion, or you could do it where you're just kind of barely getting by, and it's not very sustainable, especially early on in the season. And starting tomorrow, we can't use the "it's only April" excuse. We can't use "it's only May" excuse. And then we can't use the "it's only June" excuse, because now we're going to be in July. So when the owner tweets, "Oh, well, you know what? The hitting with runners in scoring position can't last for much longer." Excuse me, do you know who you've employed, sir? Have you seen the way the Mets performed running scoring position a couple of years ago with their hitting coach? They were ranked bottom 5. So for him to say that, oh, he doesn't expect he's going to stay bottom 5, I got news for you, because we've talked about it. It's gotten worse. So there's been struggles with run score position since opening day. We've been having these conversations every single episode this season, and it's gotten worse. So, I mean, to say, oh, well, it shouldn't go on much longer. What? I mean, have you been watching? Because this has been a
Yeah.
every single day topic that we have talked about.
Yeah, I have constantly just gone past the need of looking at any data or any advanced pieces of stuff. I mean, I've gone beyond that at this point, and it may sound like an ignorant thing, but it's more of just the fact of expectation going up against what we know that this overall capable of, and we're still just not seeing those results here. I understand in context when people say, well, we've had a lot of bad luck with runners in scoring position in terms of balls being put in play. They're hitting the ball hard. They're doing that. And they're like, okay, well, they're due to start getting those results. Okay, when? When's it going to happen? Because we are more than halfway through of a 162 game season, and we still see this as a blatant issue. And not to mention, it continues to get worse. Continues to get worse. It has gone to points where we are having these sub major league arms completely shutting us down for 6 pitch innings. Not even competitive ABs. We've talked about this so many times on this show.
Or guys that we let go this season who now pitched against us and shut us down. We've seen that a few times too.
Yeah, we saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Jesus Cabrera in another series. We had saw some former faces that were just dialed in, and we'll see
Tommy
another one.
Pham had a great series.
He did, and he was playing horrible all season, but not against us. They're not like us.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about this whole situation is that I'm not trying to sit here and say this as a victory lap, because I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm not. This is not fun. Does anybody want to sit here for 3 hours and watch this team play like complete dog shit against an even more dog shit opponent? No, nobody wants to. But we've been saying this over and over and over again. The quality of wins matters. And when you see that these red flags are pointing out throughout the entire season and there is no improvement in that way, it is going to catch up to you. And we're going to get into the whole state of the pitching staff, which is just, I mean, it's an eyesore as of right now. I actually have the wrong graphic up. Of course I do. It's basically just goes into the point of, yes, the Mets pitching has been terrible these last few weeks, and there's no excusing that whatsoever, because there's been plenty of performances against really bad teams too, and against very bad opponents and a very, very bad matchups that they're continuing to just completely get dominated by. But again, here's the thing. I will say it over and over and over again. This entire situation continues to be put on the offense, because again, throughout 3 months of the season, 3 months, we have played 80 games now. You look at this offense, if you want to talk about it from strength, the Mets offense right now has one hurt piece, one, and that being Jesse Winker, who's a platoon bat. The pitching staff is down multiple starters, multiple relievers, and also the reliever that you signed this offseason as well, who is one of the key pieces to the back end. So tell me which department you can't blame for completely melting down. And then also tell me the other department that has no excuse as the most expensive part of the team. Every single time when we go into seasons, we talk about, okay, what is this team built around? Was this team built around the pitching? No. Was this team built around the bullpen? No. What was it built around? I don't know. Maybe the $341 million shortstop, the $765 million outfielder that you just signed. Maybe, I don't know, the first baseman that everybody was kicking and screaming to bring back. And then also you get into some of the young guys. I mean, nothing from any of them. Vientos, terrible now. Doesn't even exist. Beatty, he's here for a few stretches, then disappears. Alvarez in the minors now. He's been terrible up here too. Mauricio, what is he going to give you right off of an ACL tear? Nothing. Yeah.
Acuna's in the minors.
Yeah. Acuna, barely anything. Getting nothing from the youth. There's no depth in the lineup. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
And nobody on the way, too. Like, we haven't heard anything like, oh, Gilbert be here soon. And, these other guys.
He ain't hitting well either in AAA.
Yeah, exactly. Jet Williams, haven't heard anything. Clifford's not ready. Carson Bench is not ready. And, I mean, we'll talk about another day, but do we even trust that the internal pieces could even solve some offensive issues? Because, I mean, that's not what I've really seen right now as far as the young pieces. Because there's yet to be back-to-back good seasons from any of these core prospects. Yet to see it. They have one flash year, and then goodbye.
Yeah, it looks like shit right now. That's literally what it looks like. It looks like a complete pile of shit. And when it really just shows you that top four hitters, when they're not doing anything, you will get absolutely nothing on the offensive side. And even when those top four hitters are doing something, you're barely even getting anything anyway. I
know, and there's that aspect of it, but it's also when you give up 9 runs, 12 runs, like I mean, those guys can only do so much. Obviously. I mean, even if the whole top 4 was red hot, it still wouldn't be enough. With the kind
of there's a reason as to why. There's a reason as to why that's happening. And again, I've said this so many times before. This is on the offense, because if you were to look at it for the first 2 months of the season, this team was barely hitting, and they were inconsistently hitting as well. So what does that do? That puts pressure on the pitching staff to go at max effort, and they have no window for margin. So when you go at max effort, there's going to be more of a wear down because you have to play 162 games. So now that the entire pitching staff is worn down, the offense put them in this situation. Maybe because of the first 2 months, the offense should have showed up. That's why. Because when you bring in these situations for these pitchers to pitch in high pressure situations, they're going to go at max effort. When you have more max effort, they're going to start to break down. This is just the perfect cause and effect. This is on the offense. And nobody is telling me, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this pitching staff is perfect. And I'm not worried about the pitching staff. I'm definitely worried about the pitching staff. But the offense is at fault for this. They are. They're 100% at fault for this. And yes, I know the pitching is in the dumps right now. And we're going to talk about it. We 100% will. But right now, again, this is what happens when your offense provides you nothing. And this is coming from an offense that we saw the most expensive part of the team. Francisco Lindor, $341 million. Juan Soto, $765 million. Brandon Nimmo, $162 million. Pete Alonso, $54 million or $27 million or whatever you want to call it because of the opt-out. Jeff McNeil, $50 million. Starling Marte, $78 million. And then they're like, oh, well, the rest of our depth is going to be our prospects who have given you nothing. So who really is here at fault here? Is it David Stearns for not giving us a good pitching staff? Or is it the high-powered offense, the so-called high-power offense that was going to be so good, I was told, this year? Interesting. Very, very interesting. Just a very odd situation when you think about it. Because we all thought the offense was going to be fantastic this year. But to me, I was like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. The exact same issues that frightened me going into this year about this offense, they have flared up, and they have flared up to the worst level possible. Because where is it going to end up getting better? Where? Because, yeah, okay, if they're hitting the ball hard, they're hitting the ball hard. Awesome. Great. You're hitting the ball hard into the ground, so who gives a shit? Who's fast enough to beat those out? No one. Absolutely no one. And I'm done pointing fingers to specific people because it's the entire team collapsing as of right now. I mean, he's saying Stearns has to take the blame. I don't know what exactly he can take the blame for, though. That's the thing. The problem with this offense right now, he inherited every single one of these players from this offense. They added Juan Soto, which I was told, oh, no, that's a Steve Cohen move. So Stearns had nothing to do with that. Then you have the pitching staff with the philosophy of David Stearns saying that this position breaks. And the position is broke because we have plenty of injuries going on right now in the pitching staff. The funny thing is that everybody wanted to get Corbin Burns and Blake Snell and all of these guys out there. That was the big move. That was going to fix everything. They're hurt too. So how are we going to actually solve this? Because it's not just going to be like, oh, well, trade for this guy. Go ahead and get that guy. We're a month away from the trade deadline. So, but between now and the trade deadline, how are we going to fix that? How? We sit here, oh, well, Manaea's going to come back. All right. What about between then? Because, again, every single day, we have no idea who's going to be pitching. We have no idea who's going to be healthy. We have no idea what it's going to look like. Because every day we're looking at roster moves going in and out. It's who's dead and who's not dead. Who's available, who has bullets, who doesn't. And most of those bullets are nearly useless because they've completely brought in some of these guys who can't do anything. And then, of course, that one little piece of data that we got. This is how I know this team is so lost in the woods. The team meeting. The team meeting they had after game 2 of this series, where everybody wanted to speak up. Then you lost 12-1 right afterwards. And that's how I know that this team is stuck in 2024. That's how I know. Because it's like, oh, we had a team meeting. All right, so you're telling me that Grimace and Jose Bautista are just going to fall out of the sky magically right now?
Not Bautista. Iglesias.
Well, Jose Iglesias. I'm too, so out of it right now. I apologize. Jose
Reyes. I mean, Jose Valentin.
Jose Iglesias and Grimace. They're just going to fall out of the sky magically now.
Yeah, Grimace's birthday passed already, so we can't even use that.
So
can't use it. I mean, they went to like their golden goose, so to speak. They're like, oh well, the team meeting. That's what we did last year. I mean, and that's something I want to get into later. But like, when you see the team struggle like this, you can't say you're like totally shocked. Like, oh my gosh, this has never happened with Mendoza's Mets before. How could they be like one of the worst teams in the league? They've never done that. When it's like, I feel like a lot of people forget that in order to get where they got into the NLCS, they were one of the very worst teams in the National League. And Jorge Lopez, quote and all that stuff. But like, they're one of the very, very worst. And then all of a sudden, the team meeting and all turned around. So for them to all of a sudden not play well again, it's not the biggest surprise when you actually think about how last year started.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Everything gets completely blinded by one moment
and now
of the process.
Mendoza, in both of Mendoza's seasons, he's had the team just hit rock bottom and literally play like one of the worst teams in all of baseball. 2 straight years.
Yeah.
And we continue to see careless mistakes, dumb errors, not knowing how to play baseball. Like we continue to see all these little
But
things
Frank,
just not be corrected.
Frank, there are 11 games over 500 though.
And not for much longer because to your point,
But I thought that stays forever.
But to your point, what do you do?
I thought our concerns had not, like, we were just being haters. We were being them haters, y'all.
We were just being negative because we're in first place. We're not first place anymore, and you're getting further and further from it. But to your point, you have to do something between now and then. So, like you said, trade deadline in a month. But with how this team is going right now, losing a majority of their games, a vast majority of their games, are you just gonna, by the time the trade deadline comes out, what is their record going to be? Are they going to be under 500? Because it's like you got to a great start this season.
Could it happen? Probably will.
Yeah, you're technically only a game and a half out, so it's like you still have a shot. So if you make the moves now, fix the issues now, you have a much better chance at still being competitive. If you wait until the deadline and you're at 500 or near that, it becomes much more difficult to salvage the season. But what that means is if you make the trades now, you got to give up bigger prospects. And David Stern's yet to do that. Will this be the year he does it? It depends. Are the Mets going to turn it around before then, before he has to change his mind? Because you don't want to be one of those teams that's at 500 deadline. And we've seen this before with the Mets. Do you buy? Do you sell? Do a little bit of both? Like, you have to know, like, what is your plan when you get to that point? Because they have some decisions to make. So that's something that, like some people are saying, like, if you make the moves now, it just makes things a lot easier. And the thing that drives me nuts is when you have the second highest payroll in baseball, there's very high expectations that comes with it. You can, like you were saying, you cannot pay all that money to play this bad. It's just not supposed to happen. And it's not a automatic. It's not something that, the teams, the best payrolls are always the best teams. It doesn't always work like that. But it's supposed to help you quite a bit. You're supposed to be better than the Pirates. You're supposed to be better than Tampa Bay Rays. And they are kicking your butt. And you have nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. I mean, it goes to one thing to just lose in, tight fashion. That they didn't even show up in any of these games. They got completely destroyed in Pittsburgh. They were completely laughed out of that stadium. And we've seen rough games in Pittsburgh before from this New York Mets team. But I'm so tired of holding on to these narratives and holding on to all of these. Well, this is we had it in Pittsburgh, and when we had this, and we had a team meeting, so we're going to be fine. Nice. So this is what we're going to base this off of. This isn't 2024 anymore. Check the calendar. It's 2025. Leaving it all behind. New year. What needs to get done? A lot. A lot needs to be fixed. And we talked about this early on before anybody got to it. We talked about this so early on this podcast. First month of the season. They were winning games, but they weren't playing a winning brand of baseball. And guess what happened? Look at this. We all know that this pitching staff wasn't going to be amazing. We all knew that it didn't have the firepower that the Dodgers had or the Phillies had. So now everybody is shocked that it's completely breaking down when you've put so much pressure on them throughout the entirety of 2 months. Putting pressure on the most fragile position in all of sports is the dumbest thing ever. Like, what else did you expect would happen? And I'm not saying this should be excused, because we've had some awful pitching performances, especially from some guys that need to be better, who we know can be better, like David Peterson, who in these last 2 starts has been terrible. But again, what do you expect when half of the department of the team, and the department of the team that is the most expensive, is not performing? Oh, wait, never mind. Top 10 in all of these categories offensively, but still failing to score runs. How does that work? Could it mean that they're just fundamentally stupid? Could it mean they just have absolutely no idea of the situation whatsoever? And they're just trying to swing out of their shoes. They have absolutely no approach. We haven't talked about anything about their approach this year, right, Frank? Nothing. This is what we have tried to say the whole time. Because you were going to put yourself in a situation where you had to choose chunk in the season to the trade deadline, where once you get to the trade deadline, it might be a little too late. So it's either this team just pulls a rabbit out of their ass again, or we're going to have to talk about some serious aspects of the team going forward. Because a $300+ million payroll, I don't even know what it is, 380, 370. I should not have to sit here with the pieces in this lineup, with the star power in this lineup, with all the high prospects we were expected to have. Alvarez and Beatty and Marie, the future is bright, the baby Mets. I shouldn't have to sit here and say, okay, is the offense going to show up today? Is the offense going to do anything? Will the offense even show up for the first 6 innings of the game? And then every single time I see them with runners in scoring position, I just instantly think to my mind, time to strand them. Does anybody else expect anything less? I don't know how to even describe this anymore. This is basically just them learning nothing. Learning absolutely nothing and nothing improving. And we even said, you're going to have bad pitching performances. This isn't going to hold up the whole time. Because it's great to see the pitching doing what it does under David Stearns, because that's what he's known to do. But when you put so much high pressure on such a fragile position, it is going to break down. It's like the same thing in sports with football or whatever. You're relying on your whole offense to be a running back. Good luck with that. Piles of bodies going all at them for every single carry that they have. Eventually, they're going to get injured. Eventually, they're going to get injured. And that's exactly what I have said. When everybody says, oh, well, Stearns better get Burns, or Stearns better get Snell, or he's a fraud. Pitching staffs are committees. That's what they are. It's who's alive and who isn't. It's what this game is. And if you don't like it, tell the hitters to stop hitting the ball so hard. Just tell them, hey, you can't swing this hard or you get suspended. That's what this game has become. This is also a hitter's game as well. You need hitting. You can't just win with great pitching, fantastic pitching. The hitting's got to show up. What is this acclimated to our entire payroll? It's like, I don't know, 65% of the payroll is to the offense or something like that. And they can't pull any of their weight. No weight. Can't pull any of it. In fact, it's inconsistent. And I know we've all talked about the coaching and everything like that, but like, they obviously don't want to make those changes. Andy Martino said that they're not going to. Which, again, it's more of the stuff about the young guys is why it's concerning. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides just run down this disgusting display of baseball that we had in Pittsburgh. And I have a little bit more of short notes here because there's not really much to say. There really isn't. Either way, let's get into the rundown here because we got plenty of stuff to cover as well, and I feel like we're rambling at this point of this series in Pittsburgh. Game 1, David Peterson would get the ball, and he'd struggle for his second straight start, getting hit extremely hard and struggling to throw strikes. He'd lead the game with 2 outs in the 5th inning, where pitching prospect Blade Tidwell would take over and finish the inning and close the book on Peterson. 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts on 91 pitches. Juan Soto would drive in the only Mets run of the night with a solo home run, his 20th of the year. Blade Tidwell would pitch the rest of the game and wasn't much better than Peterson. 3 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout on 73 pitches to end a miserable 9-1 blowout loss to Pittsburgh in Game 1. So it can't get worse, right? Hold it. Game 2, Paul Blackburn would get the start and pitch a solid first inning. The Mets would take the early lead in the first. After a leadoff double by Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto would drive him in on an RBI single, but an hour-and-a-half rain delay would follow, and Blackburn would end up coming back out for the second inning, and it would not go well as he'd surrender 5 consecutive hits, getting no one out, loading the bases, and he'd be pulled for Jose Butto, who'd allow one of his base runners to score on a sacrifice fly, but they would limit the damage to finish the inning and close the book on Blackburn. 1+ innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 walks, 2 strikeouts on 33 pitches. Butto would come back out for the third and toss a scoreless inning, working around a couple of base runners. Brandon Waddell would come in long relief and do a good job saving the bullpen with a scoreless 4th, 5th, and 6th with 3 strikeouts, down 3-1 in the 5th. After a 1-out double by Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo would get the Mets within 1 with an RBI single. Reed Garrett would come into the 7th and toss a 1-2-3 inning, but Huskar Brazaban would come into the 8th and completely implode, allowing a leadoff single, back-to-back 1-out walks, and a 2-run single. Colin Poche would come into the game and make his Mets debut, and he'd make it even worse, allowing both of Brazaban's runners to score and allowing 2 earned runs along with it to put the game completely out of reach as the Mets drop back-to-back games in Pittsburgh, 9-2. Game 3, Frankie Montas would make the start and instantly blow up in the first inning, allowing an additional run in the second. He'd end his day with 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 86 pitches. Down 6-0, Luis Torrens would get the Mets on the board with the only run of the game for the Mets with his second home run of the year. Richard Lovelady would come in for the 5th and allow two earned runs on a home run and a couple of base hits. Lovelady would come back out for the 6th and toss a scoreless inning. Danel Nunez would get the 7th and surrender 2 runs of his own with a 2-run homer to O'Neill Cruz. And Mets outfielder Travis Jankowski would pitch the 8th, and he'd give up a couple of runs, with Pittsburgh completing the sweep of the Mets with a 12-1 loss in Game 3. The Mets are now 48-37 on the season after getting outscored by the Pittsburgh Pirates 30-4 this weekend. They have lost 13 of their last 16, and they are now a game and a half behind the Phillies for first place in the National League East. It's okay. You hear that record? 11 games over 500. We're fine, guys. We are fine. We've already talked about pretty much most of what has gone on in this series, obviously. But there's so many takeaways, so much bad, nothing good, to be honest. I can't think of anything good that went on in this series. Maybe a few individual performances by some offensive players, but nothing too crazy. Nothing at all. As a team, didn't win, wasn't even close to winning. They got blown out of the water. And Frank, if I didn't know any better, I would say that, hey, maybe this Pirates team is pretty good. But guess what? They're not.
No, they're not. And, following this sweep, the Mets are now 6 games under 500 on the road. So that definitely is something that is quite fascinating to me, is that they played really well at home. And now that they've struggled, they don't have much to fall back on. So, I mean, this was just really, like I said, gross to watch all the way around. And we knew the offense was struggling, but it's like, oh, well, we got Vientos back. So that should give us a boost, because he was the Mets' second best hitter last season in the playoffs. He was batting number 2. Again, the second best hitter. He is like so lost right now. Like he just looks like he has no clue what's going on. If there's runners on, there's no way he's driving them in. We were talking about approach. He's swinging all over the place. You can't hit the breaking ball. I mean, he just doesn't look like the same guy. He does not look like the player that we saw last year who was dominating, going left field, going right field, going center field with power, hitting a ton of home runs. He was on a pace for 30 home runs. Oh, this guy, I mean, he can't even hit the ball to even think about hitting a home run. So that has just been one of the more frustrating things because he was someone that I was really excited for the season because I said, okay, now that he's got a full year this year, we should see like this awesome season from him. And that has not happened. So that is definitely something that is very alarming at this moment. He's only got 6 home runs this season in 56 games. Like that definitely is an issue from someone who is literally here for power because it's like we've talked about the way they are constructed because of whether it's Vientos or anyone else, like everyone's in the wrong spot. So because Vientos was supposed to be a third baseman and stinks at third, you put him at DH. So Mauricio, who was a shortstop in the minor leagues, is now playing third base or sometimes second base. So then you have McNeil, who used to play second base. Now he's in center field. Then the center fielder is on the bench and Tyrone Taylor. So it's like you have so many guys in the wrong spot. So this is what I said a while ago. They just don't fit with each other. Like these guys, like they might have tools here and there. They might have strengths in certain areas that they're supposed to have as far as like raw tools that they're supposed to have power and things like that. They're supposed to have contact. But with how you're utilizing it, where you're putting them, you're not going to get the most out of them. Like you have too many DHs, you have too many third basemen, too many second basemen, and none of them are playing their natural position. So it's like we've seen games. We saw a game where it was like, I think Mauricio at third, Beatty at second, and McNeil at center field. You had 3 guys out of their natural position. And normally, like I said before, when you do that, you do it as a trade-off. You do it so that, okay, I'm going to have more offense because I don't have guys in the right position. It's not for defense because they're out of position. So I'll get more offense doing this. And the offense is terrible. So it's like you're hurting yourselves in both departments. And it's like I've talked about, but what is the other solution? It's like you blamed Alvarez. You blamed Acuna. You sent them down. You call up Mauricio. You have Vientos come back healthy. And there's no improvement. If anything, they've gotten worse. So it's like, well, what is it then? Because we were so quick to say, oh, Alvarez needs to be sent down. He's one of the main reasons why they stink and all this stuff. And now it's, oh, we need to trade for a center fielder. Like it's always something else. It's like, okay, then let's say they do trade for Robert because the White Sox, like, let's say they do. And Robert doesn't play well. Who are we pointing the finger at next? Oh, let's go get a second baseman. Oh, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Like you never actually address what the issue is. You never address that there's 2 strikes and we're going to take it down the middle. You never address that you're in a hitter's account and you're going to opposite field. You're not trying to pull it with the power hitter or pull hitter. Like it's just this stuff like that we've talked about that you see happen over and over and over again. It's crazy. And then you have this players meeting, but play worse. Well, what is it that you talked about? If you had the meeting because you acknowledge that you are struggling and losing a bunch of games, so what steps are you going to take to improve it, to change the result? I didn't see anything different. I saw zero difference. They still did everything wrong. They still didn't care. And it's like if Mauricio drops a ball or if Tyrone Taylor overplays a ball, no problem. No one's going to hold you accountable. That's fine. You dropped the ball. No worries. Routine play. No, I mean, it was crazy. Like Tommy Pham's at the plate and Gary Cohen goes, oh, there's a check swing by Pham and a routine ground ball to second for Mauricio. And he just can't pick it up. Like it's just like the easiest plays. They don't make them. Like it's not even laughable. It's just absolutely maddening. So it's just stuff like that. But we've seen it all season long. And then it's like Mendoza gets thrown out in a game where there's a rain delay. So that was just another disaster in and of itself. And because of the way it's gone for them with how much pitching they've used, how many pitchers they got hurt, he made Blackburn pitch after that hour and a half. The Pirates didn't. The Pirates did not put their starter back out there. They went straight to the bullpen. And it's like they put Blackburn back out there for a second and he couldn't get a single out. He's just getting beat up. And it's like we've talked about before, but these constant avalanche innings are happening from the bullpen. Mm-hmm. These 5-run innings, 6-run innings in the middle or late in the game where you bring a pitcher in, they don't have it. So you take them out, put someone else in. They don't have it. you take someone else and put them in. Now you've given up 5 runs by the time that's all said and done. So it's and I've said this on the recap, but it's the walks from the bullpen too. It's like you put so many guys on because you can't throw a strike again against terrible competition. You should not be walking the Pirates. Let them beat you, which they did. But if we know that nothing comes good out of a leadoff walk, nothing comes good at leadoff hit by pitch, because you're setting up, like I said, you're setting up the avalanche. Like, you're putting all these guys on via walk and hit by pitch. So if the other team gets one hit, boom, it's a massive inning because you put so much traffic on the bases. So, and we've seen this happen far, far too often. It's happening almost every game at this point. So that's been the other thing too, is that especially I think it was game 2 where they were down like 1 run in the 8th inning or something like that. And then by the time it was done, they got blown out. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So, at least Soto's picked it up. He's hit a bunch of home runs against him a little bit, but everybody else, no one else is playing well right now. Like you said, there is nobody that is on a hot stretch or just doing well in general. And we'll also get into the pitching later, and we can talk about like Peterson and just what's going on right now. But it's very frustrating when you saw the way they finished last year and how they've approached this season, as far as like what went well last year and how you don't have that carry over into the following season. And you want to, I don't want to say be cute, but you want to make a few changes, get a whole new team in there in the pitching, and it's not worked out. They said, oh, we're going to get rid of the guys we had and bring in a whole fresh slate. And that has not gone to plan at all.
Yeah, obviously. And I mean, again, it's more of just the fact of the injuries of some of these additions. And it seems like every single addition that was added this offseason has gotten hurt. But, or re-addition. I mean, obviously, Sean Manaea, he's been hurt. They added him back this offseason. And, Montas has gotten hurt. Minter's gotten hurt. I mean, they've had plenty of these guys that they've brought in this offseason that have just ended up getting injured, which, again, is part of the game. And I don't want to blame David Stearns for that, obviously. But there is points of context here of the reason why there isn't a lot of money spent on pitching. And I agree with that philosophy. I still will continue to do so because every pitcher, no matter what, is going to get hurt. Everyone is going to get hurt. Everyone is susceptible to injuries. And that's how it's just going to be. And when that happens, you're going to have to need depth. You're going to have to need a committee of guys. It just is how pitching rotations are. And that's why it's so important to be developing your own arms. And that's why it's so important to always have the next young piece as well that could step in line up next. I know that the Mets have one prospect in AAA that everybody is dying to see up here. But again, to put it in a kid's hands to completely save an entire shit show, it's a tall ask. It is. And when it goes wrong, who's going to be pointed? What is going to be pointed to? Oh, he's a bust. He stinks. What? I mean, what are you? I mean, even if you put in Nolan McLean right now, you call up Nolan McLean, what's going to happen? He's going to probably be on an innings limit because, again, he used to be a reliever. I know for some that don't know that, he used to be a reliever in college and a hitter. Now he's a full-time pitcher, and he's now, transforming to being a starter. He'll be on an innings limit. He'll be on a pitch limit. He's never pitched in the majors before. And he's going to go through those growing pains while you're trying to contend for a playoff spot. What is he going to do? How's that going to help? You've already seen it with Blade Tidwell. Blade Tidwell's come up here. He struggled. Which makes sense. Because he's, like, again, you can't... I feel like a lot of Mets fans have this entire image of, well, Matt Harvey came up here and he was instantly great. This is a different game now. This is way different of a game now. And I feel like we don't kind of internalize the fact that these guys are going to struggle when they get up here. There's only a select few that makes the full-on impression instantly. You see if they stick, who knows? It takes a lot to be a major league pitcher now. And calling up Nolan McLean is not going to really fix anything. because he's only going to pitch every 5 days. You want to clone Nolan McLean? Fine. Go ahead. Go ahead and do it. It's not going to happen. I saw Andy Martino say or something that Jonah Tong is not seen as an option this year, which is the right decision to make. It is the right decision because he's a 21-year-old kid and he still has to develop a little bit more control of the strike zone. I know we have internal pieces. I get it. It's exciting to see the young guys. I think that there is a new generation of pitchers that are going to be really good for this Mets team, but that's not right now. That isn't right now. And they're just going to have to wait out that. They're just going to have to wait that out. I don't know what to say. There's nothing you can do to prevent any injury. Never will happen because the game just has a bigger intensity now. Just how it is. I think at this point, it's just, we'll see how they move from it. But again, I'm still pointing to the offense. I still am. Because I still believe that they've put this team in this predicament. I do. It may take a little while to get there, but for those of you in here, like I said, you don't score a lot of runs. You're terrible at runners in scoring position. You're scoring 2 to 3 runs a game, or 2 to 3 runs in 8 out of the 10 games. Let's say that. They've been awful with runners in scoring position. They've had so many inefficient outings. And they've had inconsistent offense where it doesn't show up. So what does that do for the pitchers? They have to throw it a little bit more effort to try and keep the game tied or keep the game a 1-run game. More pressure put on them. So how does that not break down? How? And it already has. I mean, Tyler McGill out. Elbow injury. A little bit more freak injury with Kodai Senga. I mean, how do you expect...
Happened 2 years in a row. It's not that freak.
Yeah.
I think Griffin Canning also went down non-contact.
Yeah. Griffin Canning, non-contact. However, injuries will continue to happen. You can't just go up there to the podium if you're David Stearns and say, okay, from now on, we're done with injuries. We're going to stop having injuries. And that's it. This is what happens. But guess what department is fully healthy? The offense. Because unless Jesse Winker, as much as I like Jesse Winker as a bat, he's not this massive glue guy for your offense that keeps the boat rolling. Maybe he is, to be honest, because the only glue that we had last year was Jose Iglesias in this thing, who's a veteran infielder, who's a veteran infielder journeyman. So maybe Jesse Winker is the answer. But when he comes back here and it doesn't bring you an answer, what's going to be the excuse now? Someone's going to have to step up. Someone will have to. Because if they don't, we're not going to be 11 games over 500 anymore. We're not going to have the good loss record. And this is exactly what I have talked about over and over and over again. But my response is always, good win-loss record, shut the fuck up. So how long until we actually realize that there's an issue here and quality of wins actually do happen? Because if you're going to tell me that I'm just being... Because you're going to tell me that I'm just being negative, what exactly am I being negative about, though? The fact that I say that I know that this team is capable of a lot more and should be giving a lot more for this team to sustain these winning ways? Yeah, that's not... Yep. All right. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it anymore. And I think another good way to explain it is with this rotation, because this Mets rotation is such deep shit right now that, again, the offense is to blame for it. They are. Little outside of the box thought, I know, like I've said. This is what happens when you rely on a fragile position. And here's a rundown of what's been going on with this Mets rotation, because are we in direction for it to get any better? No, probably not. We are in a rough situation right now with this rotation, and somehow it's going to have to hold up to the trade deadline unless somebody comes back or whatever. But here's what we're dealing with right now. It's not great. On the active side, David Peterson has been really good overall this year. But the last two starts, 10 earned runs in 8.2 innings pitched over his last two starts. So he has been struggling recently. Paul Blackburn, he missed the first 2 months with right knee inflammation. He comes back since returning, not so great. 16 earned runs in 18.2 innings pitched. Frankie Montas comes back, showing the inconsistency of Frankie Montas once again. His opening 5 scoreless innings, and then yesterday a complete blow-up against the Pirates. 6 earned runs in 4 innings pitched. Clay Holmes, he's probably been the most consistent of the consistent. He's had a good start so far, and he surpassed 70 innings pitched for the first time ever in his career as a full-time starter, so he's definitely on a little bit more of innings management. And then Blade Tidwell, he's in the rotation as well. 14th overall ranked prospect of the Mets via MLB Pipeline. He's walked more batters than he's struck out so far. So that pretty much tells you how much he has struggled so far. Which, again, can't blame the kid completely because he's young still. But it hasn't been great. On the inactive side, Kodai Senga, he's on the injured list with a low-grade hamstring strain. Maybe he comes back in a few weeks. Who knows, but we still don't have a timeline there. Sean Manaea, he came back on a 3-year deal. Still has not thrown a pitch this year, this season. He's expected back in the next few weeks, but we still don't have the full timeline. We'll get an update on that in a second. Tyler McGill, he's on the injured list as well with an elbow sprain. First 6 starts, Tyler McGill being the tease that he always is. And then the last 8 starts, completely collapsing Tyler McGill style. Griffin Canning, looking like a fantastic bargain this year. 3.77 earned run average and 76.1 innings pitched this year. Limiting the home run ball like he's never done in his career. Done for the season. Ruptured left Achilles. And then there's Christian Scott, who is not even an option this year, who is done for the year, recovering from Tommy John surgery that include the internal brace procedure that he underwent back last year in September of 2024. So right now, it doesn't seem like there's any good option. It looks like there's no end in sight. Maybe there's some enforcement from Sean Manaea, but there's still some question right now with the recent setback or little setback that he had. Frank, this is bad. Really bad. And the sad part about it is, again, where's the solution? There is none. They have no solution. Unless you want to sign Julio Teheran again, what is the solution right now between now and the trade deadline? I mean, there's nothing to be confident about this starting rotation. And again, saw it coming. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just bad right now. That's all it is. Bad. Just awful. A shit show. How can it get worse? I'm sure the Mets will take that as a challenge. But Frank, what are your thoughts here? Because this keeps getting worse every day. It just continues to get worse. They're in a really bad spot.
It does get worse every day. And, getting injured early in a game doesn't do anyone any favors because that just stretch everyone out even more. having a rain delay when a game just begins. That doesn't help. That stretches everyone out a little more. But I have a question for you and for everybody in the chat. So we're talking about last year in the playoffs and how do you build off that this year. The Mets top four. Let's start with the Philly series. It's supposed to be Senga, Manaea, Severino, Quintana. How many of those players right now are making a start in the rotation when you go around the rotation, the five spots? How many of those guys make starts for the Mets right now?
Probably
Between Senga, Manaea, Severino, and Quintana. Are any of those guys making a start in the next 5 days?
No.
No.
Probably not. No.
Zero. So they
actually no. Manaea might make a rehab start though. You can't sell him short.
Yeah, he'll make a rehab start, but it doesn't actually help the major league team. So you have right now basically a brand new rotation than you did when you were in the playoffs last year. And, there is some, and like we said, pitching is tricky. You never could predict this guy's going to be healthy, this guy's not going to be healthy, and this guy's going to have a good season, this guy have a bad season. But sometimes there is something to be said for if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So there is something that, like, if we got this far with this group of guys and we added Juan Soto, we're automatically in pretty good shape. But we said, no, we're going to do something totally different. We're going to say, bye, Severino. Even though you were good for us, we're going to get Montas and do a little experiment and figure him out, get him good again. We don't need Quintana because we're going to get Clay Holmes, who's a reliever, and we're going to turn him into a starter. We're going to get Griffin Canning, who is terrible, and we're going to make him into a good starter instead. But what have those other guys done? Severino, over 100 innings pitched this season, great on the road, and the Mets, who I just mentioned before, under 500 on the road. It'd be nice to have Severino in this rotation right now. Mets are going to see Jose Quintana this series. He's been solid. He's been steady, which is two things that the Mets don't have, and consistent. Durable. The Mets don't have that this season. They do not have a guy, and I've said this all along, 5 innings at least, every start, keep it close, make every start. They don't have that right now. And it's like, as much as Quintana drove us nuts, as much as he drove us nuts with how many guys he put on base, I would much rather have him than Paul Blackburn, than Blade Tidwell, than Frankie Montas, than all these other bums we've seen that have been pitching lately. I'd rather have that right now. So there is something to be said where it's like, if these guys got the job done, then why are we changing all of them? Like, why are we making all these drastic changes? And the one guy we kept, though, and I said this last episode, the one guy we kept is the guy that said his arm gave out. So the one guy who did have an injury concern is the one that you kept. Again, like, we could talk about health history, and Severino's is terrible. But to me, I value recent health more than historical health. And if Severino was fully healthy and Manaea's arm didn't look too good after making a change to his delivery in the second half of the season, now I need to see how that delivery goes in the full season. I would be a little more lenient. I would be a little more hesitant. Like, should I be going 3 years with Manaea? Maybe I should stick with Sevy. And that's the choice they made. Right now, it is not the right choice. When Manaea comes back, we'll see how it turns out. Is he going to stay back? Because you know what? He keeps having setbacks. As soon as he got here, he got hurt. Then he started rehab, setback. Then he started rehab, different setback for a different thing. Now it's his elbow. How about that? The guy whose elbow gave out in the playoffs, now he's got loose bodies in his elbow. Are they correlated? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I'm just saying it's not that big of a coincidence that all of a sudden there's a little something going on there. And listen, he should be okay. Everything might work its way out, but who knows? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he does need something done with his elbow. How is that going to make you feel? And then with Senga, you saw him go down with multiple different injuries last year, and you didn't get an insurance policy for him? You didn't get another arm just in case Senga gets hurt again? We have this guy we could turn to? No, we just try to fill what we had. Christian Scott ain't walking through that door. You go to season knowing he's out the next year. But what's our answer? Paul Blackburn, who was hurt last year. So it's just like, why is it that the guys they kept are all the guys who were injured last season and not the healthy arms? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why are you bringing back the same group of unhealthy arms and a bunch of experiments? this is why I was saying, if you just get someone who's a little more stable, consistent, sturdy, not an ace, not Corbin Burns, not Blake Snell, but like just a veteran who goes 5 innings, 6 innings, and just keeps it close and stays healthy. That's all. That would help out this rotation so much. It would help out the bullpen so much, and you wouldn't be at as much of a state of flux as you're in now, calling up rookies who have no business being here, and just, these guys that are just doing so terrible right now. It's frustrating to watch when you know what you had, and now you have something totally different, and it's not working right now. Could it work? It's not looking good. I mean, it's a hard sell telling me, don't worry, Paul Blackburn and Frankie Montas and Blade Tibble are going to figure it out. It's a tough sell. I have a very hard time believing it. I really do. And when Senga comes back, do I know he's staying back? Do I know he's not going to, something else is going to go out with him at this point? I mean, this is now, 3 separate injuries in less than a year? I mean, that's not a coincidence either. That doesn't just happen to any person. So there definitely is something that I'm not liking here as far as the way they approach it. I thought it was risky, and it's so far the risk has not paid off. You know what? Like you never could know with starting pitching, but there are certain signs where if a guy's not 100%, why bring him back and not the guys who were healthy? Because I'll tell you what, if they still had Severino right now, they still had Quintana right now, they wouldn't be, amazing. The hitting would still suck, but they would be a lot more stable. And you wouldn't be like, well, we're not going to have to make multiple transactions every day and release guys and then sign up to contracts a couple days later. Like, it's all over the place every single day. And it's just an absolute mess right now. Giving up. I mean, was there ever a stretch last season where the Mets gave up 9 runs, 12 runs ever last season?
No.
I mean, no. They're just in a disaster right now in the pitching. Absolute disaster.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I understand the frustration of not having the stability with starting pitching. I think the example of having stability with Luis Severino and Jose Quintana, like, I still think that that's very subjective. Like, yes, Quintana has been able to stay healthy, but he's also had issues with injuries recently, even with the Mets as well, of his overall health. And then also Severino a year later, where we're all complaining about him being completely durable, but when they originally signed him, he had all these injury history and he had a 70 ERA. Like, I feel like this entire argument continues to be revisionist history. And that's the main reason as to why I can't continue to just say, well, they need this guy who's stable because they expected Sean Manaea to be that. And
well, first of all, Quintana made 31 starts from last year, so he was 1,000% healthy.
But he's also had some injury history.
No, but I'm talking about just last season. I'm talking about just the most recent season that we're coming off of. Him and Sevy, both 30 starts. I would be shocked if there's anybody on this team that makes 30 starts this year. And they had 2 guys that did last year.
True.
And both
that is very, very true. That is very, very true. But that also goes to the same point of, well, they pitched into the postseason and maybe they're a little bit hungover from it. I understand that Quintana has been pitching okay. I still don't know if that was going to still considering to hold up. With Luis Severino, obviously, with how he is pitching with Oakland, we know that he's talked about it publicly about their ballpark, and he's pitched awful in their ballpark. But also, when you look at it from him pitching on the road and not in that ballpark, you're seeing some, like, I'm still seeing some peripherals that are not sustainable whatsoever. But I understand why people are saying, well, he's healthy and he's out there every 5 days, which again is the one thing that the Mets are lacking at this current moment. And that's the problem that they're looking at is the guy stable enough? Is the guy stable enough to give you something? And now people are talking about Severino maybe being acquired at the deadline by the Mets, which would be
now there's people talking about bringing back Lugo. So you want to talk about a guy that had injury history as a Met? He's got the UCL.
Yeah. I get that. I get that Quintana is definitely not revisionist history, But again, even if they were to bring in Jose Quintana, there still is no guarantee that he is going to be out there every 5 days. No guarantee. There is absolutely no guarantee.
What I will say, though, is that they're going to face him in a few days, and with how this offense has been, when he dominates, like the crowd is going to get louder on that one. Like, wow, why don't we still have this guy?
Yeah, they will.
Like, it's going to be a rough look. It's good when it's like right in front of your face that he's dominating them. And even for Lugo,
and that's the thing. Yes, they gave him $4 million.
Yeah. No, it's crazy to think that even Lugo's been gone for like almost 4 years now. He's now 35. Like, that's scary in and of itself to bring in a third. And Quintana's old too.
And how old is Quintana?
Yeah, 37? He's even older. So it's a risk, no doubt about it. But, I think it's just like, former Met, they feel like it's comfortable, but, it's tough right now. And then, these are also big experiments. You have guys coming up, I mean, besides Evaldi, but these other guys, they're not, Alcantara not doing good.
Been banged up too injuries this year, right?
Yeah, Gallon not playing well. So that's a tough sell too. When you have a guy who's not playing well right now, and they try to bring him in, you think all of a sudden they're going to turn around. Especially Alcantara, where he had the injury that also impacted him. He hasn't been the same since then. Like, it's not as simple as that. It's not like, oh well, this guy was good like a couple years ago, so we'll just bring him in and then he'll automatically be good. Like it's not as simple as a fix of that.
I also, with Seth Lugo,
and you got to move prospects that Stearns has yet to show he's willing to do. That's the other piece of it. Is that
I think this is going to be the year where they're gonna let go. I do think that this is going to be the year. And if it's not, then I'm going to be starting to question what's actually going on here. But I do have some confidence as to where you're seeing a lot of these young pieces get a good leeway of playing time, and they're seeing what they have. I think that eventually it's just going to be evaluated in the way that, okay, yeah, we got to let somebody go. Someone's got to go, and hopefully, they make that decision. That's when I'm going to start questioning if not. Lugo, I don't even think he likes New York, to be honest. That's another thing. I don't think he likes New York. I don't think it's his environment. I've heard. I'm not gonna say that I have just complete sources on it, but I've heard stories about him in New York where it did not go well, and he was kind of waiting to get the hell out of there because I don't know if it was more of just the fact that they didn't let him start, but who knows?
He threw over 200 innings last year. No Met last year did that, and no Met this year will do that.
No,
so that's another
probably
thing.
not. Probably not. No. And that's the thing. They do need to find the guy to eat innings. The innings are very, very important. And it's all really just how they figure that out. And it's more of just who can be that specific piece as compared to, like the individual part of it, the individual pitchers. Like, I don't see anybody individually doing it. Like, the way that they piece it together, maybe that gives you it, but it's hard to see them consistently perform like that. I mean, as for this rotation, I don't know what the hell is going on with David Peterson, but he needs to figure it out now. Right now. It's kind of funny how as soon as I give him his full credit, now he just wants to turn into a complete pumpkin, because that's just basically how it works. With my words. Clay Holmes, I'm hoping that, he responds well. It's again, you're praying for this. I mean, Shamanaya, get well soon. I mean, it's really, you're really banking on a lot right now. And that's the whole scary point of it. The whole thought of having depth in the rotation is the only comforting part of it, but it's running thin when you start to see this many hits. Like I said, with the offense of putting these guys into these situations, you're getting into a point where, you started the season already with your two highest paid starters on the shelf. So when you start to get into 3 injuries and 4 injuries and 5 injuries, it's going to get ugly. And right now it's ugly. So again, there's only so much that this pitching can withstand, and that's how it was designed, for the offense to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and it hasn't. So now you're in a situation where the offense is nowhere to be found, the pitching is bleeding, and you're losing games. by massive margins. And yes, the rotation is completely depleted. And I'm trying so hard to be patient with that department because of what they've gone through this year. But also the frustration of somebody being available when we talk about the best ability being availability. It still is frustrating when you're talking about, well, Blackburn gave us 1 inning plus. David Peterson couldn't get out of the 4th inning. And this is happening over and over and over again. No days in between. And then you have Clay Holmes, who's been noticeably consistent, but he's not been able to give that volume that Seth Lugo was giving last year as a Cy Young candidate, returning from being a reliever. So they have a lot to figure out. They do. However, there's no changes that can be made to fix it. So it's either someone steps up or they're going to continue this free fall, whether it's in the pitching or the hitting department, because there's nothing you can do right now. Relatively, there's nothing you can do. Just because the Giants traded for Rafael Devers does not mean that the trade deadline has started. Like, the context matters here. You don't see any other big pitchers getting traded right now. You don't. Because that's how they build up the market for them. And they build up the value to the trade deadline. Trade deadline's for another month. So there's nothing to be aggressive for. So everybody that's screaming for Stearns to be aggressive, there's nothing to do. You can't do anything. And this is true. Again, Jay-Z saying trades don't really start until the week of the trade deadline at the earliest. And it has nothing to do with the lack of aggressiveness. I mean, we've seen a few cash trades here and then. That's it. That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. However, that's the reality of the situation. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm saying that it sucks, and here's the reality. You can't make any improvements, so somebody is going to have to pitch better. And asking them to pitch better against the Pittsburgh Pirates, is that really that big of an ask? Apparently it is. Apparently it is. And I don't even want to know what's in store against Milwaukee going up. A team that is a lot bigger pests, that we know is a lot bigger pests than the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are one of the worst offenses in all of baseball. Name one thing that Stearns can do right now. Sign somebody off the street? Rich Hill? You want to go get Rich Hill? Go ahead. Go get Rich Hill.
I'm sure there's some Ducks available. They're in game shape.
Yeah.
That's probably where they're going next.
Yeah. Should it be somebody from the Long Island Ducks? Most lopsided series in franchise history. That's something we didn't even pick up. That is the biggest run differential in a 3-game span in Mets franchise history.
And the Mets have been bad a lot of times in their history.
They have. But we call it pitcher's franchise. I mean, here's the thing. If we were to talk about the state of this rotation in some way, it would be something that's bleeding right now. If this is the Mets rotation at full strength, then we're sellers at the deadline. Because again, Minaya, maybe he does come back at some point. Sangha will be back. Hopefully. I mean, this is what I mean. You're going to be into these situations, whether it is a good pitcher or not. That's my whole point of this. Whether it's a good pitcher or not, you're going to be in this situation. Because there's no guarantee that any of these guys are going to be healthy. It's not a good thing. It isn't. And it's very easy to be frustrated of a guy, oh, well, this guy can't even be durable whatsoever. These guys are getting hurt constantly. But some pitching staffs get dealt that hand and some don't. Even the team that everybody wants to be like and everyone's jealous of, the Dodgers. I mean, they've dealt with starting pitcher injuries constantly. That's just the dice that is rolled. We say it all the time. Pitching, not a regular motion. Not at all. And I mean, Jose Quintana in that whole argument, he got $4 million. He did get $40 million. But guess what? So did Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning was pitching pretty well for us. And guess what happened? He's done for the year. Like that's the thing. You can't predict anything. You will predict nothing. Nothing will ever be predicted.
Yeah, but I mean, he was also starting to struggle a little bit. But my thing was,
yeah.
My thing was, if I have two players available, one pitched well for my team in the playoffs, and one was the worst pitcher in the league, I'm taking the guy who pitched well for me in the playoffs. Simple as that. Like, sure. I just didn't think it was worth the risk. I mean, like they got kind of lucky that Canning started off as good as he was, but then he was looking like Griffin Canning the last few starts. Then once he did have it got off to the very early start was looking good, injury.
Yeah, obviously, so, and that's the thing.
And he didn't even get to the sixth inning yet. That was the thing too. As soon as Canning goes sixth inning, goodbye, take him out.
So, yeah, sure. Which is pretty much the typical starter, obviously. But it's like, which is like, what is it? They get 15, 16 outs, and then they're third time through the order or whatever. But again, it's the point of the fact that the fact is that when Griffin Canning, we've talked about it, like, okay, he was slowly starting to struggle a little bit. I was like, okay, well, this doesn't have to hold up because you know that this rotation isn't at full strength. Well, the rotation's not at full strength yet, and he just went down with an injury. So now you're just pivoting again to another situation where you're like, okay, well, who's available? Who's not dead? So it's like, do we get to a point where you have to call up Nolan McLean? I think you're one more injury away from that. I do.
I think they would call up Sproat before they call up McLean. Because
they probably got
more AAA reps under him, whether he's ready or not. Blade wasn't ready and he got called up. So with how it's gone, like you said, they're running out of ideas. They're running out of guys. Yeah. So they might have to call Sproat earlier than anticipated, and that would stink. And like you mentioned earlier, I hope that later on it will be something like, oh, it's going to be a strength of this team if they ever get to a scenario where it's like you have Scott, McLean, Tung, and Sproat like all at the same time. Then you have a good, solid foundation to work on. As if they're healthy, we know it's a massive if with pitching, as we've seen. Even when we had great talent, they never made a full turn through the rotation. All five of those, aces that we used to have a decade ago. So that's how it could go with pitching. But for now, they've got to figure out because those other one is hurt for the year and the other three are not ready yet. So until that timeline shows up, they have to figure it out.
They do. And that's the problem is they're in a flux. They're in a huge flux right now because again, the trade deadline is still a 1 month away. And I think we all want to get to the trade deadline now. We do. Because we all know with this team what the weaknesses are and we want to fill them in. Because we've gotten 3 months of this baseball sample of a team that can't hit with runners in scoring position. Makes a ton of defensive miscues. And the starting rotation is bleeding right now. And this is another point from Marcus. He says, can Budo be converted to a starter in the middle of the season? I don't think so. If they were to look at him as a starter in spring training going into the year, maybe, possibly. But they even said before spring training even started, they said he's going to be a reliever. So I don't think he's even in the cards anymore. I don't think that he's in consideration for that.
It would also take a while to build him up middle of the season.
Yeah.
Like
they did that with Seth Lugo a few years ago during the pandemic year, which was so stupid.
And that was a disaster too.
And they nearly killed him. Like I feel like that nearly killed him. Like that was the end of his Mets career. That 2020 year, that was it. That was like the end.
That was rough.
That was the end. So
and Blue's actually been one of the more solid pieces in middle relief, which has been very important to work deep into the games because when these guys they can't go past 5. You need someone to get through 6, 7, and Budo's been that guy lately. So you would make your bullpen worse, which your bullpen's not good to begin with. So it's one of the things we've talked about, like when they were struggling with the middle half of the order, and it's like, oh, we could put someone up top and move someone else, and it's like, oh, well, the bottom half of the order still stinks, even if you move guys around, like it's still the same guys. Like you would still be in that same predicament. It's like, so you move Budo rotation, now you call up no one of these no names to the bullpen, and they stink.
Yeah, I do think that's another thing of why losing AJ Minter is another big piece. We already talked about it. We talked about it the day that it happened. I mean, that's brutal. It really does. It worried out the depth. Let's just say that's the problem. I just don't see what moves right now on June 30th, 2025 that can be made right now to fix this. That's the problem that we are in right now. That is the issue. And whether you want someone or not, and you're asking Stearns to be aggressive for fucking once, what can he be aggressive with right now? Just call up and say, hey, Miami, we want Sandy. All right, cool. Give us your entire farm system right now, and then we'll get back to you.
And then
he's not like there's no way. There is no way. And this is why you're getting these reports of, oh, the Mets are monitoring this situation, because there's nothing else they can do. Unless there is some stupid GM out there that would say, okay, let's trade this player now. Where is he? Where's that stupid GM? Because I don't think he's there. Even though we have a lot of stupid GMs in baseball right now. Now, I do think that you do need to put pressure on Stearns and say it's time to make some moves here. And I will be disappointed if they don't go as aggressive. I will be. However, we're not there yet. We're not there. We're not in that department yet. So at some point, those moves will be made. But if everybody wants a big trade to happen right now, I also have a bridge to sell you. It's not going to happen. It won't. And it's going to not happen for the 29 other teams. Jay-Z saying, I'll give Stearns a fair shot until the deadline. I expect marginal moves at best. Hope he proves me wrong. I hope he proves everyone wrong too, because I do want to see them make some key additions. We'll see what those additions are. But we'll see. And this is a whole other topic, saying that why is Cashman always able to be aggressive in trade prospects that never pan out, but Stearns can. Well, again, these aren't Stearns. Most of these guys aren't even Stearns prospects. And also the fact that the Yankees have better pitching development. They've had better pitching development, and they've had appealing prospects that they have sent over. And again, those moves still made at the deadline, made in the offseason. The Mets are in a position where you want to have the ammo to make these moves, but they don't. And that's the whole argument of Garrett Crochet. Remember, everybody, oh, well, why couldn't we get Garrett Crochet? Because the Red Sox blew them out of the water because they have a better farm system. You know? If they aren't Stearns prospects, then just trade them. Exactly. And I do think that eventually that decision is going to be made. With how many opportunities these young guys are being given right now, I think that's the saying. I think that's what we are expecting. But nothing can happen right now. Nothing will. I can guarantee if you're hoping for them to make a trade after getting swept by Pittsburgh, You're going to be waiting by the phone. You're going to be waiting by your own phone, waiting for the Twitter update, and it's never going to come.
It's never still buying the bridge that Carson's selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the reality of the situation. It's come at the worst time. It has. And it sucks. It really does suck. But maybe they'd be in a better position, like I said, if the offense would give a damn
better.
It's
better that it's happening now before the All-Star break. Could you imagine, like, they were doing good and like, oh, let's stay pat. And then all of a sudden everyone just breaks and then they have no trades they can make. So it's better that it's happening now, not later.
Yeah. It is better. And it is better that it's happening now and during the process of them playing horrific baseball where they're playing to the levels of, what is it? They're playing to the levels of the Chicago White Sox right now. They're only a half game out of the division. Like, what happened to that argument? I thought they were fine. Again, everyone's very selective to panic right now. What did Cashman trade for Chisholm last year? I mean, that's not a pitcher. So that's, I mean, but
well, I mean, that's
Jazz Chisholm traded to the Yankees. It was what was it? Augustin Ramirez, who's actually it was one of their prospects, I'm pretty sure. And listen, I'm not someone who's like, oh, well, we have to keep all these prospects and sit here and nest them. But it's not the fact that I'm okay if you want to trade these pieces. I just don't know how appealing they are to other teams. I don't know. Because there's a lot of pieces in this farm system that are highly regarded to me that I'm like, really? This is what you're appealed to? Really?
Yeah, so, I mean, someone made a good point before about PCA. I'd have to find it. I'd started somewhere in here. Yeah, so, like, we're still waiting on the first offensive prospect that the Mets have actually developed as a Met, and they did good as a Met consistently. They've yet
Alonso. That's it.
I'm talking about in this recent regime. I have not seen it.
But we have Alonso. We're fine.
We have Alonso. That's it.
We do have Alonso. We're fine. That's it. Oh, we also developed Jeff McNeil, so that's fine, right? So those two, those will last a lifetime. What are they, 30 years old now? All right. Anyways, speaking of a non-healthy department, let's get into the injury report, and I'll swing that over to Frank. We got some updates, obviously.
Some repeat offenders here.
Yes, definitely. But, hopefully reinforcements down the line, and the team will be completely fixed, right? Anyways, Mike is yours, Frank.
Yeah, here are the guys to save the day. So let's see. We'll start off with Sean Manaea. Mets starting pitcher threw a bullpen session back in New York yesterday afternoon. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that the date of Manaea's final rehab assignment for AAA Syracuse has yet to be decided, and all depends on how Manaea responds after experiencing a setback last week due to his latest MRI revealing loose bodies in his left elbow. The initial expectation still remains that he will rejoin the Mets sometime in July. The 33-year-old southpaw has been sidelined since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain. Brooks Raley, Mets reliever, continued his rehab assignment with Double-A Binghamton on Saturday, tossing an inning and two-thirds, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts on 17 pitches. He is expected to use the entire 30-day rehab window. Raley continues to recover from Tommy John surgery that included an internal brace procedure, which he underwent back in late April of last year. Jesse Winker, Mets outfielder, has begun his minor league rehab assignment for High A Brooklyn yesterday afternoon, going 1-for-1 with an RBI double and a walk. The 31-year-old has been on the injured list since the beginning of May due to a right oblique strain that he suffered while making a throw in left field.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see Brooks Raley back and healthy. That's awesome. That can definitely give you a little bit of a boost.
Which Mendoza said won't happen until after the All-Star break.
It won't happen until after the All-Star break, which does make sense. Which does make sense, obviously, with how that's being lined up. But again, you do have guys who are on the brink of returning, but it's not going to be tomorrow. So again, like we said, there's still some time to make up in between there. And that's the problem of looking at it down the line. It's the fact that we're still going into every single day of who's pitching, who's available, and who's actually going to be out there. because we're also having transactions every single day. I mean, Richard Lovelady being signed and re-signed and DFA'd and re-signed again. Guys like Colin Poche coming up here, and we've had Austin Warren and Waddell's come up here, and Jose Castillo, I believe, is still with the organization. He actually just cleared waivers today and was outrighted to AAA Syracuse. And then, we even had guys like Jonathan Pintaro, who barely even pitched in AAA, come up here. So they had a lot of these other pieces. They have a lot of these other pieces that maybe they do bring in, but it's not going to be anything special, and no one's going to completely save the day. Brooks Raley could be someone to deepen the bullpen, but he's not going to sit here and be the bridge to Edwin Diaz completely. Like, they're going to ease him in. They are going to ease him in. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery, so it's not going to be something of like, oh, well, once we get Brooks Raley back, the bullpen is going to be fine, and we can get rid of this guy, we'll be fine. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery, so they're going to ease him back into the bunch, and hopefully by, September, he'll be able to be at full ramp up. It was good to see him do an up-down yesterday. I was actually wondering when that was going to happen. But he was able to get 5 outs, which is good on 17 pitches. How efficient is that? That's awesome. But again, hopefully, we can add a little bit more depth to the bullpen with a guy like Brooks Raley, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It isn't. It will not. But hey, it's anything. Okay, so some other things that we have to get into here. I do want to go to the positive side here for once, because we're in a rough spot right here. We have to talk about the one highlight of this June stretch, and that being Juan Soto, who has turned on the Jets to a different level in June. He's been remarkable. And I do want to do a little bit of a highlight of it, because obviously the first 2 months were not Juan Soto. They obviously were not. And it looks like he's starting to return back to the form that we know that he is capable of as a 26-year-old superstar phenom. So let's give a little bit of a rundown of what Juan Soto's been doing in the month of June, as June is done. And we go on to July. He is shuffled and adjusted. It looks like at this point, Juan Soto looks to be Juan Soto again. In June, one of the main things that have been fully highlighted, you can see here on the screen, a 1,196 OPS in the month of June, which is the second highest month span OPS in Mets franchise history, behind Darryl Strawberry in June of 1990, which was 1,209. Now, obviously, there has always been a lot of talk around Soto since the very beginning of how he's hitting the ball hard. He's getting unlucky, a lot of rough luck, but we were also seeing him hit the ball on the ground a lot. But even as we're starting to see that luck kind of translate into actual sustainable success, these things are continuing to improve. Exit velocity has even gone up through June. Launch angle, again, because he was hitting the ball on the ground so much, has improved mightily. He is averaging a sweet spot every single game. Hitting the ball as hard as he possibly can continues to go up. I mean, hitting the barrel zone, he had 11 home runs in this month of June. 20 runs batted in, a 230 weighted runs created plus, which is Barry Bonds territory. And then, of course, in contribution, win probability added, a plus 1.16, as compared to 2 months where he still was positive, but still just not Juan Soto. We're seeing him walk even more. We are seeing him strike out even less. And we are just seeing the power that we know he displays as a 40 home run bat. And we know he will continue to be that 40 home run bat going past into his 30s. And we hope that he is, because we have him signed for 15 years. So either way, Juan Soto, an incredible stretch in June. We hope it continues. Will it be to the magnitude of an 1,100, 1,200 OPS? Probably not. But again, when you put it to the means here, we are seeing Juan Soto at his very, very best here. And we all know that there's plenty to come. Like we've said, he is 26 years old. So plenty to come. Glad to see him going. Obviously, there's still some factors in it. He's been the only bright spot of this offense, I would say, for the past few weeks. And it's been great to see. But I also want to see the rest of the team, like, I don't know, wake up and actually exist. That would be awesome. And then there's another factor here, which I think is very, very important, that Jay-Z is saying Soto and Lindor need to be hot at the same time, which we have yet to see. We have yet to see that. Frank, there is one factor still that Soto's in the department of the weakness of this team, and that being runners in scoring position, obviously, which we still have not seen consistently in those situations. But this is the Juan Soto that we paid for. This production outright at face value, this is exactly what we have been looking for, and then some, because a 1,200 OPS, I mean, that's is nearly unheard of. But Frank, what are you liking from Juan Soto here? I mean, a fantastic June, a monstrous June, a historic June, poetic.
Well, he's not hitting the ball on the ground because he's hitting all those home runs, and you can't hit those if you're hitting the ball on the ground. So that has been the main thing. He has more home runs in June than he had in April and May combined. So, I mean, that just shows you that he, like you say, he's on a totally different level right now than he was earlier in the season. And, you know, you want to say that the team certainly needs it, which they do. But when they're, like I said, they're giving up 9 runs, his solo home runs are not doing much for them. To your point, he could certainly be better with runners in scoring position. I know they got blown out yesterday, but he did have an at-bat, men on, 2 strikes, took a fastball down the middle. So there's still some of that you don't want to see from him or anybody. But listen, maybe that's what the hitting coach is telling them to do, because like Ron Darling said, literally seconds before it happened, oh, could Hayward runs in scoring position just be happenstance? I mean, that must be what Chavez is telling these guys. Oh, it's just random. Like, you never know. You know, there's not an exact approach you could have, and then he just takes fastball down the middle with 2 strikes. So there still is some of that. Defensively, there's no improvement. He's first percentile in range. He's probably the slowest 26-year-old outfielder in all of baseball. So at least he's hitting. I mean, because, man, he needs to, because he's getting paid all that money. He needs to, like you said, have a OPS that's sky high. After this recent stretch of games, his OPS is now at 900. So that's good to see. I mean, we want him to be in the 900s at minimum. I mean, he was high 900s last year, playing in Yankee Stadium.
I mean, he's career 950, right? I mean,
his career 949. So he's getting closer. Like, you know, it's going to take a while. It's kind of like we've seen with Lindor, where he'll start the year batting 240, then he's up to 270 by the end of the year. So if he keeps not at this exact pace, but much better than the pace he was at, he'll hopefully get close to it. And by the time the season is over, you'll be like, oh, well, listen, Soto hit his numbers. And right now, he's at 20 home runs. He had 41 last year, so he's technically on pace for 40 if he has another hot stretch. So that's good to see as well. And to just not have the first season be a total failure, total bust, that's very good to see him do it in a Mets uniform. He is doing that, and he's doing it when the team needs him to, because everyone else stinks. But it's just that the rest of it's just been so bad that it hasn't made much of a difference and an impact in deciding between winning and losing, because they're losing regardless. So that's been the one thing that really does stink. But overall, I mean, it's very nice to see this side of him that we knew he had, because we saw this guy for the Washington Nationals for so long destroy us. Like, we know how good he is. So it's nice to see him do it for our team.
Yeah, obviously. And we all knew that it was eventually going to be coming. But again, during the process, I mean, I wasn't saying that, oh, well, this guy is completely awful, but he was not performing. He wasn't. He was under expectations, and we had to call it like it is. I mean, that's how it was. And we knew that eventually he was going to end up getting going, because we knew he was capable of it. And that's why we were constantly saying it. And I think that's how it's kind of, it's kind of perceived in that way. And, this is another point of where I'm easy saying there are some Mets fans who are actually calling calling these recent Soto numbers hollow, which is ridiculous. And again, I think it comes to, again, there hasn't been impactful home runs, but it's great to see that Juan Soto is still being Juan Soto. It also comes to show the fact that, yes, you gave $800 million to Juan Soto, but you also need the rest of the team to perform. You also need a team to perform because, yes, Juan Soto is a generational, can't miss free agent on the market, but they also need other guys in this lineup to step up. Most of that comes from a lot of the young guys, which was sold to Juan Soto as the better future for the Mets, and we're not seeing that. Most of it has to do with Lindor, who has struggled since that, broken pinky toe that he had. He's definitely struggled. Pete Alonso has produced overall this year, but he's been slowing down recently. Brandon Nimmo has been good recently, but still we need them to kick it into a gear because we know they're capable of doing it. We need them to kick it into that gear. And I do think that the best version of this lineup is the lineup they're putting out of Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso. The problem is, once you get past that part of the lineup, you have, I don't know, maybe the occasional base hits of Jeff McNeil, and then there's nothing else. There's nothing else.
So Pete Alonso is the only player on the team hitting above 260.
That's not good. That isn't good.
It's not. Even if you're not a big batting average person, that's just pure results based. Like,
not great.
Mets players are just not getting a lot of hits. Like it's very simple, and it shows.
And it goes to show. I mean, the first 2 months we were talking about, oh well, they're getting the hits, they're getting the opportunities, they're getting plenty of opportunities. Now we're starting to see the offense. It's like nothing. 1, 2, 3, done. When you have to clear the whole bottom part of the order in order to score, that's where it gets bad. And I know they were out with Mark Vientos for a few weeks, who also has not done himself any favors. And they don't have Winker to deepen the lineup and things like that. And they don't have the glorious prospects that apparently are going to save the day. But someone's going to have to step up. We saw it last year. We saw Mark Vientos take the step up, and the lineup got deep because of it. Who's going to step up this year outside of that top 4? Because the 5 after that, what is it going to be? I don't know. I don't know what that is going to be. And I do think that they do need to add a bat at the deadline. Who will that be? I don't know. We'll get into that eventually in the next couple of weeks because there's going to be some trade deadlines talks starting to elevate a little bit with it being, July 31st or August 1st? I don't know. It's around there. And it's going to be impressive. It's going to be impressive the amount of rumors we're going to hear. Because there's a lot of the pivotal point. And I'm hoping that they're more aggressive this year. And if they're not, you're going to start to see a little bit of a turn from me of someone who's been very patient with David Stearns. I promise you that. I do. Because there's been a lot of instances where I understand where Stearns is going. But in the position that they're in, you don't just sign Juan Soto to an $800 million contract and then half-ass it for the rest. That's just awful allocation in general, which I trust David Stearns to make that decision, and I'm giving him my trust, but it could instantly be taken away if they don't approach this the right way at the deadline. And that all has to do with this guy, Juan Soto, in the center of it. But either way, Juan Soto, fantastic month of June. Let's have another fantastic month of July. Seems like he's starting to get equipped with it. Doesn't seem like he misses the Yankees anymore, right? No? Does he? I don't know. I still see him crying in the dugout.
Very unhappy to be here.
He hates it here. I'm still seeing cry in the dugout a few times. I don't know if anybody saw that. So I still think that he does.
All he had to do was
Judge.
flip a water bottle in Los Angeles, and then all of a sudden he was happy again. They just gave him water bottles earlier.
I don't know. It's very high strung, I guess. It's very high strung. I don't know. But it looks like the adjustment's been made. It looks like he's getting into that rhythm, and we are happy to see it. We definitely are happy to see it, and that's really, really good going forward, especially for this team that has been starved for offense. But hey, it's whatever. Rosie saying you keep talking about the deadline as if they're not going to make out of it by that time. Listen, that comes to show, what do they have in store? They have to step up. Again, they do. They have to step up. And again, that's the thing. That's the time crunch that you're in right now. Easy saying Marte does have to force Soto to look into the camera after a home run. Yeah, that is the sign. That is the sign that I think Soto wants out of here. That's the sign, in my opinion. That's rough. It's very, very rough. But definitely changes will have to be made. However, we have a little bit of a window before that happens. Anyways, let's recap this embarrassing display of baseball the best way that we know how, with everybody's favorite segment, studs and duds. One player that was good in this series that we want to give flowers to, that were not many. One that was horrible, which I think we can list off forever like a constitution. Frank, I'll go to you for the stud of this series. As long as you want to search, it is completely understandable, because this is... there was not much great here. There really wasn't.
No, as someone who was there when the Constitution was being assembled, there definitely is a better things to watch. I'll give it to a guy who I talked about in the recap. I said, he's super underrated this season. Brandon Waddell. 3 scoreless out of the bullpen didn't matter. You're down 9-2, but with how it's been going for this bullpen lately, it's like you needed some length because the rain delay and Blackburn, he came in the second inning, he had to take him out immediately. So it's like you had to, like we said, just get the innings some way, somehow. Get the outs without giving up a ton of runs in the process. And Waddell did that. And it just seems like they've called him into a lot of different situations. And he's just been solid, and it hasn't been talked about because they haven't played well. But I feel like he comes out there as a lefty, long relief, throw strikes, don't walk batters, and get the job done. So I really like what I've seen from him in the very limited sample size.
Yeah. It's definitely been impressive from him. Obviously, he came over from the KBO, as we know, and I think he was teammates with Jared Young, and I guess only one of them had the winning mentality, I guess. But he throws strikes. He throws strikes. That's literally it. He contact manages. Has he had a few outings that have not been great? No, yeah, but he's definitely provided innings. He's been a very unspoken hero here. And it's definitely shown with the condition of the bullpen right now. I don't want to give it to anybody in the offensive category because it was just god awful. But I do want to shout out Brandon Nimmo because it seemed like he was awake, like one of the only few bats that was awake throughout this series. He even stole a base, I'm pretty sure. He had a 2-hit game in the second game, drove in a run. It seemed like he was one of the only guys that was awake throughout this entire series. McNeil, he had one rough game, I'm pretty sure. So I guess I'll edge it to Nimmo.
He had a multi-hit game.
Did he have a multi-hit? Okay. But
yeah, he did.
So did Nimmo. So I'll edge with Nimmo here, and also, giving credit to Jeff McNeil. That's really hard for me to do. Anyways, duds, so many of them. So many that we can count. I guess, do you want to do like a top 3 here? Really bad. Like really said, bad. Just awful.
Basically whoever we didn't mention, just call the rest of them duds. Because that's
we could.
How it went. When you lose by that margin, 3 straight games, like everybody played bad. Besides Soto. Soto you could give a stud to. Obviously, we just did a whole segment on him. But other than that, you can just give to everyone else. And that's fine.
Lindor was not good in this series at all. Didn't seem like he was there as much. And he's obviously struggled.
It's like he's playing on 9 toes instead of 10.
That could be rough. It could be rough. I don't know. But yeah, he has not been good recently. Montas, terrible. Blackburn, terrible, which not entirely to his fault because they put him back out there after that rain delay. David Peterson, awful. And then Huskar Brazaban, what was that? What in the world was that? In that second game, completely taking them out of it. And then there was one other guy that you can put out there.
Daniel Nunez,
maybe, I don't know.
Lovelady.
You can put Richard Lovelady in there, guy who I wanted like 3 years ago. But hey,
Tidwell,
Peterson, another one. Peterson, yeah.
I mean, so many guys. Vientos, Tyrone Taylor. Like, take your pick. Poche, I'm sure you got DFA'd after the thing. Like, it's just a mess.
Just a shit show completely. All right, I want to move on from it because it's been a nightmare these past 72 hours of watching Mets baseball. So let's get into future Mets baseball, and that being their series with the Brewers, which can't be worse, right? Anyways, let's get into these pitching probables. We'll preview things coming up, obviously, for with this team, this rundown of this Milwaukee team. Which we are somewhat familiar with, but there's some new guys out there that they added in. So here are your pitching probables going into this series. Game 1 will go to Clay Holmes. He's looking to continue his consistent start to the season, now passing the 80 inning threshold for the first time in his career as a full-time starter. And he will face the criminally underrated right-hander Freddie Peralta. First pitch is criminally. First pitch is tomorrow at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2, Mets pitching prospect Blade Tidwell will start Game 2 in place of Griffin Canning, who is done for the year. He'll face the rookie phenom Jacob Mezorowski. Did I say that right? I think I did. First pitch Tuesday night, 7:10 p.m. Eastern on SNY. And then Game 3, David Peterson will get the series finale coming off of back-to-back brutal starts in Philly and Pittsburgh. This time he will not be in Pennsylvania to pitch, so maybe that'll help him. Looking to turn it around real quick, and he'll face our old friend Jose Quintana. First pitch is Wednesday night at 7:10 on SNY, Eastern Time, just like the first two games. So Mets versus Brewers. We know the Brewers are a good team. They've got talent. This is definitely not Pirates. This is a different level. So, this is obviously a Brewers team. Are they still in first place? They're in playoff position.
No, they're 2 games behind the Cubs.
Okay.
The Mets are like a half game better than the Brewers.
Oh, sick.
For now.
Okay. For now. Yes, for now. Okay, so yes. So the Brewers are in playoff position. They're in that second wild card right now. They are, they're close with the Cubs right now for first place in that division. So again, this is a Brewers team that they're going to meet their match here. This is not one that you can completely sleep on because you don't know many of the players, even though they lost. What was it? Willie Adames is no longer there.
He's been terrible anyway.
They don't have Devin Williams anymore.
No.
But they still move along as a good team in the regular season. So it's not like it's going to be completely a blowover of a team that you should beat or whatever. This is definitely going to be a tough matchup for this Mets team. But either way, Frank, going into this series, is there any other notes? Obviously, we know that their lineup had some really good performers and some like really bad depth in it, or at least it was. I don't know if it's continuing like that.
I mean, we just saw this team in the postseason. We kind of know what to expect a little bit. If you thought, I mean, someone did a great comparison of like the Rays of the National League. Ricardo, like this is a very good comparison because you know that the talent on paper doesn't seem great, but they're going to put the ball in play. They're going to play small ball. They're going to steal a lot of bases, and that is going to present challenges for the Mets. It did in the regular season last year. The Mets did a good job with it in the playoffs. It didn't burn them. But you know that Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick and Jackson Churio or Kristen Yelich, like all these guys are pests. And you got Rhys Hoskins, certified Met killer. So it's like, you know how it goes. I mean, you've played them before. Like, you know what they're capable of. And that pitching matchup with how we just talked about, like the state of the Mets rotation, how bad the Mets pitching has been. To go up against this pitching, Peralta, Mezorowski, Quintana, doesn't look good. I got to be honest with you. I mean, like I said last episode, oh, the Mets should sweep the Pirates. Those guys stink. Now they have guys who are good on paper. So how does that go?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, after what we just saw, they were worse after the team meeting. I don't feel good. I got to be honest with you. I mean, Freddie Peralta is my guy. You want to talk about who the Mets could use instead of a Snell and a Burns, whatever. Freddie Peralta, that's the guy I've been saying for years. Yeah. Like, he's perfect for what they need. 30 starts a year, 3 ERA or lower. Like, he's perfect. Works deep into games. Like, he's everything this team could use. So you have him. Then they said Mezorowski, phenomenon, striking out everybody. And then the guy we talked about earlier, Quintana. I mean, how does he match up against his former team? That's going to be interesting. I am very curious to see how that goes. I mean, we get to see the improvements he made. Obviously, it's Stern's former team. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's not who you want to face when you're struggling. It's not the team that you feel like, oh, this is just who we want to face to get back on track. It's quite the opposite. So it's going to be a good test for them because, Cohen tweeted and they're in a bad way right now. They have a day off today. So it's a pretty big series for them. I mean, let's see. Are you able to bounce back or are you just going to continue to slide and, let a team like the Brewers get past you, let a team like the Cardinals get past you, and your road to the postseason becomes a lot more difficult. You put more obstacles on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their lineup, plenty of pests in it. They don't have anybody completely dominating. But we know that Christian Yelich can always be a threat. He has destroyed the Mets every single time that we have faced him. We did not face him in that playoff series because I'm pretty sure he had back surgery. But Yelich, obviously, he's not the MVP level hitter that he was, but he still is an 800 OPS bat. Obviously, Jackson Churio, future star in this game, very, very young, but has so much talent. William Contreras has struggled at the plate this year, but it seems like he's starting to pick it up as of right now. But they have a lot of these pests, lots of guys off the bench as well, lots of this toolsy depth that the Mets do not have. Anyways, and then of course, obviously them getting rid of Devin Williams, Josh Hader is long gone. The bullpen is still really, really, really good. Trevor McGill, the older brother of Tylor, who seems to be actually good, and I've been asking for the Mets to go and get. And everyone's like, "Oh, turn it away! The McGills are so bad." He's now their closer. He has been really, really good this year. Abner Uribe, another nasty reliever, as well. Nick Mears on a tear this year. Yeah. They have a ridiculous bullpen. Yeah,
it's what the Brewers do. I mean, they always turn out a great bullpen every year.
They do. Yeah,
no
they always will.
Said, they could lose Hader, they could lose Williams, and they're still awesome. Yeah, and if Yelich is hot,
I'm pretty sure Yelich has been on a hot streak as well. They can even, I'm pretty sure, like they've even gone to a guy who was consistent for them for multiple years in Yoel Payamps, who I'm pretty sure they DFA'd. They still have a really good bullpen. So again, this is a pitching factory right here. Does it hold up into the postseason? Never has. But this is definitely a team that can threaten you. And it's definitely something that can go into the department of a team you do not want to face when you are struggling. But what the hell do we know? We said that the Pirates are a team that they should beat, and they ended up getting blown out of the water and look like complete shit. So maybe against this Brewers team, they'll actually play like a competent baseball team because they love to play down to their competition and not just get a job done. It always has to be something that we completely sweat out, which is something we just love about these New York Mets. Am I right? Something that is so much fun to watch. We all love the drama. We don't want to just see them completely dominate. Even though the last time that they dominated, they won the World Series in 1986. But you know what? It's more just about the journey, right? It's more about just losing hair, going bald, sweating things out, and constantly being stressed out, watching the team, wondering if the offense is going to show up. Yeah, that wasn't sarcasm at all. But either way, Brewers, good team. Don't sleep on them. They're going to give you quite a fight for these 3 games, and they got to get back on track. They have absolutely no excuses. Like we said, there is plenty of time until the trade deadline, so they're going to have to figure it out, or we are going to have to get to the measures of different measures before the trade deadline even starts. They are 11 games over 500, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe they just need to get to the All-Star break. I don't know. I have no clue. Ricardo's saying just go 500 with the rest of these games before the break. That could be a possibility. Maybe that does happen. I just want to see them win a game, to be honest, first. I want to see if they're actually capable of winning a baseball game first. Game by game, step by step, day by day. Take it slow. Just take it slow. Do what you need to. Focus. Focus. Focus in. Realize the situation. Put the ball in play if you need to with runners in scoring position. Little things. We're not asking you to do everything and score 20 runs every night. We're asking you to be efficient. That's it. That's all I ask. I'm giving pep talks right now. Anyways, Frank, any last comments before we wrap this thing up? One to forget. Let's just say that. One to forget.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, win a game. I mean, make it like, don't put us through this again with the blowouts every game. Just don't do that. That'd be nice. Hit with a runner in scoring position. Hopefully, I'm not counting on it, but you should do it. I mean, it's July now, so I mean, June's over, so we can't say, "Oh, you had a bad June." The June swoon. There's no more June, so have a better July.
Yeah, and then after this series, there'll be fireworks, right? It's 4th of July, right?
Well, they're the home team, so there won't be many fireworks, but you know.
Anyways, let's end this one off here before I just completely go insane. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant reactions after every single regular season game. Those are the Mets Frankly post game. And also follow us individually, including our third Mike Andrew, who's not here. And finally, let's go Mets. Please don't get any worse, because we're going to get to a feral state. Let's just say that if this continues. And I don't think we want that. It may be a little entertaining for us to rage at it, but I don't think anybody wants that. We want this team to win. We want this team to succeed. Unicorns, rainbows, and butterflies. Anyways, we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See ya.